Hey everybody, it's PartyElite, and today we're continuing our look at the Steam Winter Sale to highlight some particularly great deals with 10 games that you can get for less than or just about $10. As always, I like to focus on games that fall into the more strategic and tactical spaces, from real-time strategy to roguelike deck builders to management and more. And if you have more recommendations in that world that you'd like to share, don't hesitate to drop them in the comments below. If you're looking for more recommendations with a slightly larger budget, you can check out the other Winter Sale video I released, linked in the pinned comment. But otherwise, with timestamps below and no more time to waste on an introduction, let's begin. Transport Fever 2 is selling for next to nothing right now, and even though the sequel has been announced, it's not slated for release until some unspecified date in 2026, and so you're probably just fine picking Transport Fever 2 up now to see what all the fuss is about. Manage supply chains across vast expanses, developing through technological leaps and bounds, and engaging with real-world systems as you take on one of the multiple historical campaigns that take you from region to region around the globe across multiple different time periods. Or establish yourself in the much more open-ended, self-driven sandbox mode instead. From trains to buses to ships, planes, and more, you'll be managing not just the individual lines for those various modes of transportation, but their development and logistics around them too, as you find yourself responsible for the smooth flow of goods and people from location to location to ensure that the needs of multiple towns and cities across the map are met. For anybody interested in infrastructure management and planning, Transport Fever 2 is an easy recommendation. The game is highly addictive and very easy to get into, and I just keep finding myself coming back to it time and time again, and I think you will too. You'll have heard me recommend it before, and I'll continue to do so until that third game releases, especially at such a low price point. Drop Duchy is just about $10 and well worth every penny. A roguelike deck builder played out loosely in the form of Tetris. You choose a faction to lead and then proceed through a map that culminates in a boss battle at the other end of branching paths that feature a few different types of nodes. Those that help you acquire resources, those that provide you with additional types of Tetris blocks to use in your journey, and those that have you use said blocks to either collect as many resources as possible or do so while pit against an enemy faction. Each tile in the game represents a terrain type, and as you complete a horizontal line, you gather the resources associated with each terrain type on the tiles in said line, rather than remove the line like you would in classic Tetris. The blocks at your disposal will be a combination of these various terrain tiles and buildings. Some buildings generate additional resources based on the tiles adjacent to it, some convert nearby tiles from one type to another, and some recruit one of 3 different kinds of units using different methods, like giving you more archers for each adjacent farm tile, encouraging you to place your farm building appropriately as it flips nearby plain tiles into farm tiles, bolstering your army as a result. All this adjacency bonus management is a ton of fun, especially since you're balancing these Tetris blocks coming down from up on high and trying to figure out exactly where they can slot in to maximize these bonuses. And once you've stacked the blocks as high as they can go, your units can then be used to fight enemies, if any are present, who will also recruit units using similar methods, though the twist is that you get to place their buildings too. So, for example, if they have that same aforementioned building show up, you'll want to actively tuck it away from farms to minimize how many archers it can recruit. Between this strategic block placement and a simple rock, paper, scissors method of combat, there is a very interesting added combat layer here. What's more, you can upgrade your building blocks in any given run, expanding its radius of effect, improving its recruitment rate, or otherwise helping generate additional resources which are used to do these upgrades in the first place. That's why you're collecting them through all these different methods. There's also an overarching meta progression layer that unlocks new buildings and tile types, ensuring a great deal of longevity. I honestly didn't expect the game to capture my attention quite like it did, but it's easy to lose hours at a time playing, and what's more, it's the kind of game that you can pick up and put down over and over and over again with great ease. I highly recommend checking Drop Duchy out. Steel Division 2 remains one of my favorite World War II games, and even though it's been out for 6 years now, it continues to get a tremendous amount of support in additional campaigns, units, and more. The biggest selling points of Steel Division 2 have to be its sense of scale and the level of detail. Whether you're playing individual skirmishes against the AI or in multiplayer, or you're playing the Army General mode that allows you to take on a grand campaign, commanding troops across a larger theater of war, you'll eventually find yourself on a battlefield where you control your troops in real time, keeping an eye out for terrain, line of sight, ranges, cover, etc., across absolutely massive battlefields featuring multiple towns and cities and the lands between them. You'll have your infantry rush from building to building in urban environments as artillery rains down smoke or suppressive fire from several kilometers away. You'll set up anti-tank guns to hide amongst the trees and look down likely angles of armored advance, sending your own tank battalions to push forward with the support of your air force, dodging enemy anti-air and fighters alike. And as the fighting rages on, you'll need to sneak logistics trucks around the battlefield to replenish ammo, or bring out your commanders that bolster your unit capabilities across a wonderfully modeled chain of command system. Play 10v10 multiplayer or co-op grand campaigns or just solo. The game is fun regardless of how you play it, as long as you enjoy highly detailed stats to keep an eye on, like armor thickness and piercing and ranges and ammo types, and as long as you don't mind a micro-intense game, because Steel Division 2 is very intense on the micro side of things for sure. But it all comes together for one of the most thrilling gaming experiences you can have, at least in my humble opinion. I've always enjoyed my time with this one, and I can easily recommend it at full price, even 6 years later, let alone on sale. The King is Watching is also just about $10, and this is another great roguelike kingdom builder with some very, very unique ideas right at the core. The concept is simple enough. You pick one of a handful of kings to lead, with most of them unlocked over the course of play, and each of the kings has their own slew of special abilities and perks that can change how you approach a run. Then you select a kingdom to lead and attempt to defend it against wave after wave of attacking enemy. You have a small grid where you can place buildings of various kinds for various effects. Some will gather resources of various types, others will recruit one of a variety of units, so on and so forth. But the twist here is that none of these buildings function unless you're directly watching over them. So if a wheat field gathers wheat every 5 seconds, that timer isn't actually ticking down unless your king has his eyes on it. As you can imagine, your gaze is limited at first, and each king has a different shaped gaze, and though the area can be upgraded and expanded over time with the use of resources, you'll need to shift your gaze around at first, rotating and moving this subgrid within the grid of your kingdom to ensure the right buildings are operational at the right times. There's a lot more to keep your eye on as you unlock more advanced buildings over time, as you upgrade your troop count and gaze size and shape, and as you gain access to powerful spells that can turn the tide of battle. There's a meta progression layer of upgrades as well, of course, and you're able to recruit advisors to bolster your king's abilities and even take on unique challenges as well. Though the concept is, again, very simple, that unique twist makes this game just stand out from the crowd so wonderfully, and it gets very challenging very quickly as well, especially if you insist on playing it without pausing, like I do. I can highly recommend The King is Watching as a very fun twist on the survival city builder genre. Core Keeper is an extremely fun and charming survival crafting game that you can play either alone or with up to 7 other players, tasking you with gathering resources across a massive procedurally generated map, digging your way around in the darkness as you slowly build up a base that gives you access to more and more complex pieces of equipment through progression, and taking on all manner of local flora and fauna to do it. Starting with wooden gear, including weapons, armor, and mining equipment, you'll learn how to smelt copper, blow glass, and shape tin to make more powerful and capable tools, all while keeping an eye out for ways in which you can make your base of operations more appealing too. New furniture, aquariums, and other such decorative items just to spruce the place up a little and personalize it. But of course, you don't need to go fishing and taming animals or farming and gardening. That's just fun side content that you can engage with if you want to. You can also choose to ignore, for example, the layer of automation and electrification of your base if you so choose. You can stay entirely focused on upgrading your skills, securing more powerful equipment, building, again, those simple automation systems or not to keep operations running while you're off adventuring, and simply pursuing the task at hand, which is powering up the titular core by defeating 3 major bosses in battle. The game is a lot of fun whether you're pursuing the endgame or not, and I can highly recommend checking it out. Shadows of Doubt is still one of the most fascinating games I've played in a very, very long time, and while it certainly doesn't fall into the classic definitions of strategic and tactical games, it's certainly one that makes you think laterally, and so I believe it belongs in this conversation. You play as a PI in a sort of classic film noir setting. It's a grimy world with rampant crime and nobody to do anything about it. Except for you, of course. Take on various procedurally generated investigations and actually chase and follow up on leads based on clues left at and around the crime scene. Flip through phone books, show up at a suspect's favorite diner, chat up a waitress, scan through CCTV footage, or break into a crime scene to scan for fingerprints, sneaking in and out through air ducts and picking locks as needed. Whether you're hunting a murderer or trying to solve a kidnapping, a theft, or a vandalism case, you'll seek out clues, try and tie them together on your board, and see if you can't figure out what's going on and how to shut it down, ideally arresting the right person in the process. It's kind of insane to see this procedural approach where every crime, every victim, every assailant, and every witness is determined on the fly. Even when you're chasing the same kind of case, you'll often be led down wildly different routes and come out the other end with some great stories to tell. Get paid for every solved crime and use that money to upgrade your kit and unlock new types of clues to pursue, slowly becoming better and better at your craft, though never quite invincible to its dangers. Shadows of Doubt is immense amounts of fun, and at this price point, even though it does have a bit of jank here and there, I can still highly recommend it for the most unique experience it presents. Into the Breach is a very fun turn-based tactics game that looks very simple at first but proves itself to be quite challenging quite quickly. The world is under attack. Kaiju have emerged, and it's your job to fend them off with the help of powerful mechs, hopping from island to island, taking on various kinds, each with their own attack patterns and capabilities. Your mechs are equally varied, with a few different teams to choose from when you start, each bringing their own strengths and weaknesses to the battlefield. Battlefields which, naturally, feature various obstacles and dangers, as well as human settlements that need defending. Failure to do so, or to stay alive while trying to do so, means game over. Now, the enemy in Into the Breach fortunately always telegraphs its plans, letting you know exactly what it's going to do on its turn, leaving it up to you to figure out how to prioritize your targets, intercept their actions, or otherwise sacrifice one unit for the greater good. Inevitable failure in a run sees you try and try again from the start with some convenient time travel technology to hand-wave away the specifics while giving you access to a meta progression layer to consider too. Into the Breach is a phenomenal game, and I can highly recommend checking it out. Partisans 1941 is a stealth tactics game that puts you in charge of a small band of resistance fighters in Eastern Europe during World War II where, after escaping from imprisonment, you set up a camp and bring together a band of misfits to help challenge the occupation forces in the area. You'll find all the classic expectations of the genre in place. Scope out guard patrols, watch their lines of sight as you move, coordinate timings between your characters, and use each individual's abilities to eliminate or otherwise distract potential threats to your operation. The game does add its own ideas into the mix as well, though. Resource management and how looting ties into the resources you'll have available at your camp is compelling, and injury sustained mid-mission will see your character's performance suffer even if you manage to heal a wound. A bad enough injury will cause trouble until you're able to return to base, increasing the risk factor in an interesting and realistic way. Taking a bullet to the arm is going to mess with your aim, for example, even if you stem the bleeding and apply some bandages. While this isn't the most revolutionary game in the genre, it does have some interesting ideas and a decently long playtime. At this price point, it's easy to recommend picking it up and taking it for a spin. Now, before we look at the next two games, both published by Hooded Horse, I just want to mention quickly that outside of the channel, I am affiliated with Hooded Horse. You can learn more about this affiliation at the video linked in the description below, but just know that they have no say on what I cover or talk about on the channel whatsoever. I'm just likely to talk about their games from time to time anyway, since the reason I'm affiliated with them in the first place is because I enjoy all the games they publish. Now, with that said, first up, Nine Kings continues to add more and more to enjoy, now featuring its full set of 9 kings as well as a brand new quest mode that contextualizes them all on a world map and sends you on a series of 81 challenges, 9 each from each of the 9 kings. Whether you're playing this new mode or the one the game launched with, 9 Kings has a very simple premise and set of systems that come together to create an amazing time. Each run has you picking one of the titular 9 kings as long as you've unlocked them, each coming with their own set of starting cards that give you access to various buildings, units, spells, and upgrades. The battlefield starts as a simple 3x3 grid, and you must take into consideration adjacency bonuses as you place your cards, one for each turn, watching an enemy king come to attack you as your buildings and units work to defeat them in battle turn after turn. Each battle ends with you picking a new card to add to your hand, expanding your options to use cards that belong to the various rival kings as well, introducing all kinds of new synergies and blends to try. Duplicate cards can be burned to generate wealth that's used to purchase cards or re-roll as needed, but they can also be used to upgrade plots that you've already placed to get some truly insane damage output numbers, something you'll actually need to do if you want to survive into the later years. Periodic boss battles and the occasional opportunity to declare fresh wars and sue for peace will keep you on your toes, especially as you find which enemy kings you're better or worse off against, and There's of course a meta progression layer for each of the kings as you unlock additional perks for their kingdoms too. Eventually growing beyond your starting 3x3 grid, 9 Kings will have you thinking and rethinking your approach over and over again, and hits a specific kind of satisfaction when you manage to survive just one more year of endless war. I can highly recommend grabbing this one at full price, so on sale, it's an easy decision. Super Fantasy Kingdom just released a couple months ago, and I've been excited to see it release since I first played the demo a couple years ago. Heads up, if you played said demo too, the game has expanded far beyond what it was back then, featuring 2 completely distinct factions to lead in this unique roguelike city builder that blends strategic thinking and resource management with exploration and auto-battling mechanics. You can play as one of 2 kingdoms, the humans and the undead, with the latter needing to be unlocked relatively easily. Each of the kingdoms work off of completely different economic systems and are based on completely different maps, and this bit in particular is crucial for the meta progression aspect of the game. See, each run you play has you spending resources to do a bunch of things, but among those, not just expand your kingdom and the building plots available to you, but also to explore the map around you. Exploration is the #1 source of recruiting additional units, but the construction within your kingdom helps you generate resources to acquire said units, upgrade others, and otherwise keep things running. Inevitably, your defenses are overwhelmed and your kingdom overrun, and when the new run starts though, all the bits of the map that you explored and all the building plots that you unlocked stay that way, meaning you'll have access to much more with every subsequent run, allowing you to push further and further out. Naturally, even these explored areas don't stay static between runs either, so there's always more to seek out even in the places you've already seen before, and this can fundamentally change your approach based on what's available to you at the start of a run. There's a huge variety of unit types that can be upgraded over time, a great number of quests, powerful heroes to equip with equally powerful items, and again, 2 completely different kingdoms to lead. I cannot stress how different they are from each other. It's like a completely separate game. Super Fantasy Kingdom is a super charming game, and I highly recommend picking it up. But there you have it, folks. 10 excellent games to pick up for less than or just about $10, each one well worth your time and money, especially at such ridiculously low price points. If you're looking for more recommendations for the winter sale, check out the video linked on screen right now, and for more coverage of games like these, don't hesitate to subscribe. As always, a massive thanks goes out to all of the channel members and patrons who've been supporting the channel on a monthly basis. Y'all keep us alive and running smoothly, and of course, a big old thanks goes out to each and every one of you for watching. Until next time, cheers.